I might have to demonstrate this at some point. Music stop, we're live. Hi there.
Hi.
Okay, let's see, oriented times 3, oriented times 5, day 2, Thursday, day 2, week 1. Any questions or comments from the material or life?
Is it true we can view this class on YouTube also? Is that correct if I remember right? Or
Well, you only know what the YouTube links are if you go to Moodle, unless people start sharing them.
okay. Because my class overlaps, so I'm kind of
Yeah.
trying to get it where I have it on my phone,
Right.
so I can kind of, as I'm going there, not just the last 20 minutes, or
Yeah.
somehow, or get the video, or whatever it takes to make sure everything.
Yeah. Well, the YouTube links are put up there, but because they're on YouTube, they're accessible by anybody if they just, know to Google the, Google the right thing. But otherwise, the links that I provide for me, we figured out that we were able to, really? You serious? Huh. Interesting. Well, you saw it was here. So let's see. It's cool. Do you have a fix for this? Because otherwise I'll just go to the PC.
Yeah, I don't.
Oh wait, there it is. Sassafrasa.
Reset.
No, don't want to do that. Don't want to do a hot reset.
I think that's.
Is there somebody in Cottage? Oh, I see. Cottage Grove is still watching, and you're just setting the camera somewhere else. I guess. All right. So let me give you a standard of reference here for what I do. I have academic freedom, so I was informed of a phone call from the community. So usually I actually, if you got beef with me, call me, email me about stuff that I'm going to say. So here's my standard of reference. I have academic freedom. I am a drug counselor that's certified and have followed code of ethics, et cetera, et cetera. And so my standard of reference is, I'm not going to tell you something unless I know it works first. That's one. Two, if it's my opinion, I'll let you know that it's my opinion. Otherwise, the standard reference is it's got to be science, and that means it has to be replicated. We have to know that it's so, replicated. Otherwise, don't tell people that, or tell people this is as far as the theory goes, because this is as far as the theory goes. So if I'm going to mention or imply something about somebody or some place, then there had to be multiple instances of that, and it's persistent. All right? So I'll show you what I mean by that, because you're going to have to encounter this if you're in the field yourself. So I'll give you the science as far as it goes, because it doesn't go that far, because understand our science, addiction science, is still less than a century old, based in Western medicine being 150 years old. So we're changing. We're adding new knowledge. I basically used to say, and I was trained on the fact that our field in addictions changes every 6 months. Not because the drugs do, but sometimes they do. But new things keep happening that we have to account for. Like when people ask, oh, what's spice? Good question. What is spice? Bath salt. Okay, no, give me the chemical composition. Right? That ain't being regulated. Yeah, they're selling the stuff like you're supposed to put in your bath water, but that ain't how people are using it. So as far as what effect it has on your brain, tell me what it is first, And I can tell you if there's science for that. But, you know, clients, addicts do weird stuff. I don't know why people huff Glade.
Really?
I know that people who had huff Glade said it's like a 5-minute acid trip. Yeah, except that what you're experiencing because of the physiology of the brain, you're experiencing direct destruction of brain tissue in real time. So great, maybe there are colors and stuff, but that ain't a good idea. Now, who would have thought that people would actually huff Glade? Oh, it's legal. Right, well, so is sniffing glue and paint and, oh, black and gold and silver tastes better than red. Really? No, this is what clients say, right? So the science of huffing volatile inhalants, I mean, we have some way of predicting what's going to happen to you, but not why people do it, whatever their motivation is. And we can answer some of that, and I'll give you the data as far as it exists. So, and I will clearly state my opinions, and you noticed I'm opinionated. But, of course, I'm passionate about this, and I'm passionate about justice and people getting healing when they need it, not because you don't like them. All right? So, clearly state my opinions, which are based on multiple examples and sources, not just because I just happen to be having a bad day. So, and I will act to diffuse toxic memes, myths, etc., wherever I find them. So, how many of you know what memes are? Okay, let me hip you. Viral memes in addiction. An urban legend is a type of meme. When we have the term in our now lexicon, you know, when I first discovered this in the mid-'80s, and the work had been done on it in 1976, it was a new concept in the mid-'80s, but now we have the term going viral. Going viral came from the concept of memetics. So, myths are a form of meme. A meme is like a virus of the mind. So if you understand how viruses work biologically, a virus is not an independent cell. It's a particle of DNA with a protein coat that needs an active living cell, and it's basically inert. That means it's inactive. It's basically like dirt outside of the cell. The cell might eat it, and then once inside the cell, the virus gets inside the nucleus, hijacks the DNA, and turns the cell into a virus factory. All right? So that's a biological fact. So viruses need living cells to work. Memes are like viruses of the mind, and it's coined by this evolutionary biologist named Richard Dawkins. All right? And he was basically trying to come up with an idea about how ideas have an evolutionary life, and it's survival of the fittest for ideas, which means an untrue idea can spread like wildfire while the truth remains almost dormant, right? And so he said, all right, so memes are not good or bad, they're successful or not. Just like, because he's an evolutionary biologist and he's an atheist, so he's not saying this is divine wisdom, just saying, look, he's a fairly militant atheist. I'm not an atheist, but. So, a meme is the smallest unit of replicating thought. So, he described this in his book, The Selfish Gene, the term memes to describe how ideas have a survival of the fittest component. They compete. And they persist. So, when I was talking about THIQs, so I just, for giggles, Google THIQs, and the first hit that I got, there were others, but, if you want to do some research on your own or a social recon of the internet, go to the NIDA site and Google THIQs in NIDA. See what NIDA has to say about THIQs. I'm just saying, look at the science. So,
NIDA, N-I-D-A.
and not yeah, National Institute of Drug Abuse, part of the Federal National Institutes of Health. Your tax dollars at work. Okay?
THIQ and heroin addicts' brains as well as alcoholics, right?
I'll show you. I actually like seeing you. Can you aim the camera so that I can see you? Because otherwise it becomes this kind of disembodied voice. I mean, that's cool. The voices in my head tell me I'm okay, but...
Not cool.
All right. So, memes do not have to be true. Memes are not good or bad. They're successful or not. So, for example, the site that came up first, and understanding how Google works, it basically goes about how many hits a site gets. All right? So, in this particular site, which I'll give you the citation at the end of where it is, the URL, myth number 3, alcoholics have THIQ in their brains. So in 1970, Davis et al. Published an experimental research on alcoholic rats, which found the evidence of THIQs, tetrahydroisoquinolines, in their brains. Since THIQs are chemically related to opiates, it was thought that this might explain the difference between alcoholic drinkers and normal drinkers. Now, again, look at this terminology. Alcoholic drinker and a normal drinker. All right, so an alcoholic drinker is going to be described precisely in medical terminology within DSM in terms of a dose-to-weight relationship, as well as a pattern of how this affects your life. So a normal drinker, that's kind of fuzzy. Now, my opinion, notice how I'm phrasing this, is that if addiction is part of the gross national product, what people consider normal is probably addictive. Case in point, here's a meme, Joe Sixpack. Now, in my experience, if Joe Sixpack is a generic person, Joe Sixpack, generic white guy, beer drinker, right? Joe Sixpack don't just drink a six-pack. Joe Sixpack drinks a case. So the persistence of the meme Joe Sixpack is a lie by itself, but drinking a six-pack by itself in however long it takes you to do that, say less than an hour, that's binge drinking. That's a problem. So if normal drinking is binge drinking, that's a problem medically. So when they're making that distinction, alcoholic and normal, well, maybe you're undercounting the number of alcoholics. Not my opinion. 40 years of treatment experience. Joe Sixpack ain't drinking a six-pack, he's drinking a case. 4 of the students that were inebriates on Lane Community College last term were normally drinking a fifth of vodka a day. Normally. Normal is what happens. Okay? They didn't think anything of it. And they ran into problems when they went cold turkey. And went into the shakes. One went into, basically had seizures in the classroom. All right? So we can predict what that's going to be. All right? So normal drinking. All right, so in 1983, Sojoquist et al. Published autopsy results on alcoholics, which seemed to confirm the presence of THIQs. However, other researchers had difficulty replicating these results. This is code. Science is based on replication. You can't replicate the experiment. It ain't so. Difficulty replicating means they didn't replicate it. No replication, it ain't science. THIQs, and so next line, THIQs were also found to be present in the brains of non-drinkers. Oh, non-alcoholics have THIQs. Well, then autopsying alcoholics with the presence of THIQs is not going to prove that THIQs has a relationship alcoholism if normal brains have them, whatever normal is, non-drinkers. While the academic debate raged, and you could see where it would, workers at rehab centers began to tell clients that there was proof that their alcoholic brains, quote unquote, were different than normal brains because of THIQs. We're stretching the facts here. No science to back that up. Hazelden has at least one therapeutic videotape on the subject. If Hazelden is doing a videotape, other treatment centers that are using the Hazelden model and having that videotape will probably replicate that. Now, I've had at least 4 or 5, both clients, students, and workers at said treatment center say THIQ is a fact. That has not been corrected. It has not been corrected. Sorry. That's a fact. I'm just saying, okay, it doesn't matter. I'm not saying you shouldn't go to that treatment center. I'm just saying these are persistent myths. That's why I'm into the science. Which is also why I'm not working in a treatment center, because if it's often 12-step based and you persist in the science, stick to the science, you're going to be in trouble. So, and if it's also workers that are saying, yeah, that's wrong, but what could I do? I work there. So I've seen a statement by one treatment professional saying, in effect, it's good to tell clients that their brains are different because of THIQs, even if the evidence does not bear this out, because it helps them to accept that they are diseased. Well, we have plenty of other evidence to say that it's a disease without using THIQs. All right, and so, this is the opinion on the website. I just copied it straight without editing it much. Lying to a client is okay if it makes them accept disease theory. Let's not do that. And I told you why I lied, when I lied, and how I lied, and what was the context. Not about treatment works, just about the religious affiliation of one of the people. None of your business, basically, but...
Fabricating the truth more than lying.
Well, I'm advocating that let's get you into treatment. Let's not worry about if there's Jews in treatment, okay? Yeah, just go to, you're a skinhead. I know what you're into, but I'm trying to help you here. So, myth 3, alcohol, continuing. So, 2006 article by Quartermont and Didon notes that measuring the presence and quantities of THIQ in brain is not an easy task, and that more sophisticated measures are needed. It's not a simple matter of people with THIQs and their brains are alcoholic and those without are not, because we've already established, the science has already established, normal people, non-drinkers, have THIQs as well. The good news is that the research on the topic is getting better because our technology for research is getting better. Yeah.
What does THIQ stand for?
Tetrahydroisoquinolones. Yeah, it's in the slide earlier. So this was from that site, HAMSnetwork.org, myths. Never been there before. So basically, if they have a harm reduction approach, they're not abstinence-based. And then it's under the heading Myths from Drug and Alcohol Rehab. So, and I just gave you some other of the myths from that particular site. There's a gene for alcoholism. All addicts are cross-addicted. So, as with many memes, there may be an element of scientifically verified fact within them. So, there isn't a gene for alcoholism because alcoholism is a behavior, and there are few behaviors that only have 1 or 2 genes. It's a complex. We don't know what that is. We don't. And I will explain what the genetic predisposition with alcohol means a little later. But there's a grain of truth in that. Also, the whole once an alcoholic, always an alcoholic thing with tolerance, okay? That's scientifically imprecise. Okay? It's not yes or no. It's scientifically imprecise. Simply means there are some drugs that you have a lifetime tolerance for because the body remembers. The nervous system is designed to adapt. It adapts. to the presence of a drug. It's kind of like basically you, for example, first time you smoke a joint, you get stoned, you don't know what getting stoned is because it's different than being drunk. Maybe you don't get stoned, but you're extra giggly. Next time you learn how to get stoned, and you get stoned, and then you keep smoking, you don't get as high as you did before. You might go through a period of abstinence and all of a sudden smoke again, and wow, I'm really stoned. But then if you continue smoking after that point, oh, well, this isn't working.
It's like endurance for an athlete.
It's kind of like endurance for an athlete, yes. But not for every drug.
No.
Not every drug does that. As with many memes, an element of scientifically verified fact within them. But they're most often imprecise, and that's where the element of untruth comes in. That can be damaging. So, my association of that specific treatment center came from several former clients and workers from that facility over the last decade. And it hasn't been corrected. So, want to call me and correct it? Fine, but whatever. So, it's out there. Hasn't been corrected. So, let's continue. This is the assignment. It's not due for a while. But it came as an outgrowth from the last class. So, the theory is as addiction professionals or training addiction professionals, you're supposed to have your self-care act together already. I'm not finding that to be so. So, personal addiction inventory. How can you remove the mote in someone else's eye if you haven't removed the plank in your own? And too often, we've been often focused on substance abuse. And so, great, we get people off of alcohol and street drugs and they become diabetics because they overeat. They become gambling addicts, sex addicts, or relationship addicts. And so, wow, now we have to do 5 different recovery, how many meetings can you go to in a day for your multiple addictions? Let's not do that. Let's develop a model for health, right? All right, so this will take 4 weeks, and it's due week 9 at the latest, which means if you started just before midtime, you'll be cool. So 1 week, food mood diary, or if you've done a food mood diary because you took the last class, 80% live food diet for a week. I don't mean raw squirrels. Okay? 80% live food. Raw vegetables, steamed vegetables, fruit, nuts, just 80%. Or the food mood diary is described, but basically you, for a week, track everything you put in your mouth. Gum, toothpaste, I don't care about your boyfriend's tongue. That's been done. I don't care about that. Not funny. Smirk once. 1 week. Track money outgo. Save or invest where you would have spent, gambled, impulse bought. Now, a lot of people in the field are into, some people are doing gambling treatment. I'm not one of those. I will refer those folks out if they have that problem. But it comes down to common sense. You gamble with money you have to throw away. Got no money to throw away? Don't gamble. Now, I know it's more complicated than that. But it comes down to, what do we know? Where did your attitudes about money come from? And did you know, because people, for example, have done social recons on gambling institutions and video crack, I don't know why people trust video poker machines instead of a human being, because the house wants to make money. And they will program the machine if they think it pays out too much. So it's designed to take your money. So if really you want to throw your money away, hey, donate to the Recovery Center Fund in the LCC Foundation. It's not throwing it away, but I'm just saying, it'll at least go to some good use. Yeah.
I wanted to give an example. I was at Patty's last night, and there's
The bar patties on, yeah,
Yeah, 99.
yeah, no, yeah, yeah.
I was doing just fine. Somebody's machine next to me hits real big,
Mm-hmm.
and before that, I was hitting every 5, so things were good.
Mm-hmm.
That person hit real big, and everything went away.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And theoretically, they shouldn't be connected.
They are.
I'm just shocked. Shocked. Okay. 1 week. Give it up. Give up an ingestive or process addiction. Substitute a mind, mood altering practice or a mind body discipline if you're not already practicing one. So this is in consecutive weeks, yes? And one more. 1 week of internal reflection without media. No FB, no Twitter, no Yahoo News. Internet only to do your assignments.
That makes it
No
harder.
games on your cell phone. Cell phone only to communicate. If you are, I know I'm getting in your business. But I'm old school, so I'm remembering the time when there was only rotary dial telephones.
Do I remember?
And I get into these, I have a couple of friends with which, look, we're in town, and even if we weren't in town, we could be talking on the phone rather than doing this stupid texting. Because like after the first or second text, like, and it's like multiple paragraphs in a text, why aren't we just talking?
Because it don't cost money to text.
Yeah, if you have an unlimited plan. Yes, that's true.
Yeah, but it's super stupid when you're like, you have to get together, you have 5 friends, and you're there to interact with your friends, and you're all sitting there on your cell phone.
So and you're texting to people in the room.
Yeah, I've seen that.
I have seen that.
They're commenting on how beautiful the ocean was.
Hello. Okay, so right. I'm just saying you basically define the level of what you're going to do or what you're going to give up. But I'm saying cyber addiction is an emerging field, science within the field. And I'm just saying, okay, look what happens when you cut back or attempt to cut back. If you cut back, if you get resistance from yourself, you get denial, justification, it's an addictive process for you. Okay? Just like, there are some people who are, I see you. There are some people who are, wondering, okay, I'm giving up alcohol and street drugs, but why are we smoking cigarettes and coffee and drinking coffee at meetings? Aren't those addictive drugs? Yes. Okay, there's a medical reason for that. But yeah, if you were going to be fanatical, you'd give that up. But most treatment centers don't do that. And there's actually some science to back that up. It's very hard to quit tobacco. So for my tobacco and pot clients, look, stop smoking pot first, then quit tobacco. Because they fail. And I'm going, yeah, okay, that's cool. Multiple failures do lead to treatment success. The science shows us that. But you're going to beat up on yourself. So let's just do it the easy way.
Can you explain the one before? I
Mhm.
didn't really understand.
This one?
Yes.
Okay, there are 2 forms of addiction, broadly speaking.
Ingestive.
Ingestive, these are things you put into your body. That includes food. Okay? And process, that's things you do with your body and mind that act as if they're a drug and have that same effect on you.
So repetitive things that you do on a daily basis.
Gambling is a process addiction. Sex, yes. Yeah. Toxic relationships. Why do good girls love bad boys? Yeah.
Is working out considered?
That depends. No, that might be a good idea. That's what I'm supposed to do, but you know, that depends. You know? No, I'm not going to, you know, it could, yeah. If we're talking about a couple of hour workouts, that's probably fine. If you're talking about half a day, that might be excessive. You know, when people say, oh, whoa, what's the line about video games? Because the science is not great on that. But here's what I say. Think about if you were doing this in the real world. If you're spending 8 to 10 hours playing WoW, are you getting paid for that? I had a client who was, you know, basically her partner was using her school computer, you know, the computer she bought with financial aid, to play WoW. And what his idea was is he was going to build up this avatar and sell the avatar for $1,500. Now, I have a friend that works for them, so his job is actually doing net security and preventing that kind of activity. So, y'all know what I'm talking about? Okay, so, and I said, so how long did it take him to build up that avatar? 3 months. Okay, you divide 3 months into, say, like a 40-hour weekend, he's getting less than $3 an hour. Maybe that's not a productive use of your time. Maybe it's an addictive use of your time. Don't make dollars, it don't make sense. I'm just saying. All right, biopsychosocial recon. You can use the biopsychosocial model that Rasmussen refers to in 37. So, in your observations of how addictions are reinforced throughout society and your solutions.
This would be a Moodle?
Yeah. Well, they're in the syllabus too, but yeah. So do close of business week 6. So I'll explain that some more. So yeah, go ahead.
So is that in the book?
Yeah. Isn't it on page 37?
Because when I went in and gave up with to the bookstore, they told me that this class didn't need any books.
Yeah, well.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
They're like, yeah, there's these books, but you don't need them down for this class. And I was like,
No.
what?
They're required. Syllabus says that. They should know that, but
That's awesome.
It lists it when you go online.
yeah, right.
Put in this class.
Yeah. Yeah, so page starts on page 37. But there might not be enough meat to actualize that for you, or tofu, whatever your pleasant. So, a partial example. So, example, FIRE. This is a mythical agency I made up. First Initiate Recovery Enterprises. So, the bio part, person's name, their age, their race, best to use self-identification rather than you guessing. Their sexual orientation, hetero, male, female, bi, gay, lesbian, trans, intersex, two-spirit, whatever the framework there is that they're working in. So this person is something old, the racial identity, heterosexual, whatever it is, who is an addict, alcoholic, chronic debtor. They are Hep C positive with a viral load of 200,000, which is a low value. He identifies his history of injectable drug use, IDU, as the probable source of Hep C. So that's like in the first paragraph. So we're telling a story. Biopsychosocial. Bio, what's happening biologically? Psycho, what's happening psychologically and emotionally? What's happening in their social life? And this eventually, the use of this eventually grew into what became ASAM, American Society of Addiction Medicine criteria, which we'll learn about later too. So I'm just trying to get, This is the difference between being a pro and civilian. You're thinking in these terms already. So you start with identifying the client. Name, is a, how old they are. Self-identified, federal 5 or other, that's the racial identification, such as, and also if they're Native American, identify the Native nation, tribal affiliation, or other indigenous nation membership. Gender identification. So however they identify gender-wise. Whose problems with substances and or processes, those things that are identified by the client, the reason they're coming to see you, have caused them to seek help with the center. Their primary routes of administration for their ingestive addiction is enteral, parenteral. So enteral has to do with the gastrointestinal tract. That is anything you take by mouth or the other end. So, your mouth and your anus are one continual tube. Everything you take in, and they also have suppositories, so that's why we have to consider that too. And with the whole thing about, what did I see on 1,000 Ways to Die? The whole beer and wine enema thing. Butt chugging. Is that, yeah, right. Okay. That's just like so out. It's not out there. I mean, that's been going on for a while, but now it's, these things pop up virally, so to speak. Yeah. Was there somebody else? Yeah, go ahead.
A gentleman who's told by his doctor he couldn't orally drink, he couldn't drink anymore because
Right.
of his liver and stuff like that. And so he had his wife give him an alcoholic enema,
Right.
and you don't process alcohol the right way that way,
Nope.
and he died.
Right.
So.
Okay, so by the right way, what she means is you bypass the liver when you do it that way. So parenteral, enteral is the gastrointestinal tract, parenteral is everything else, so inhaled, smoked, or ingested. Their infection status is, so whatever they're infected with, HIV, Hep B or C, STD, sexually transmitted disease, positive or negative or unknown. So what you want with the client, the minimum standard, if they know they're HIV positive, they should also be able to identify what their T cell count is, what their viral load is, and if Hep C positive or Hep positive, what their viral load is. It's important for them to know that, and it's important for you to know that, and you ask the question, and if they don't know, then they should find out.
So this kind of goes hand in hand with the ASAM.
Word. You got it.
Division.
Right.
Okay.
Right. Okay? We didn't used to do this as a standard. We evolved to that because, you heard what I said Monday, or rather Tuesday. We had to change because of HIV, and that level of sophistication that meant we had to know about viruses and viral load and how sick you are and all that other kind of stuff. And if we're part of the medical community and part of our job is to educate folks, then this is the minimum standard you have to know as a pro. Now, think of it as the floor, and you can build up from there. So, Kram Sarah is an 85-year-old Caucasian lesbian female. Like that, okay? And then you continue on from that. So, that's a mirror, so that's me. Mark Harris is a 58-year-old maroon heterosexual male suffering from chronic Gepetomania aegypticus with complications of rascality, workaholism, and is in remission from cannabis abuse, the DSM-5 number, in high school, which is the only time I clinically met that definition. Okay? While non-insulin dependent diabetes mellitus, right? He has no viral infections and has never used white drugs except for 10 lines of cocaine in the late 70s, early 80s as part of the music industry. People trip out. You actually counted? Come on. Yeah. That's nothing. Yeah, right, whatever. I left LA before crack happened.
Thank you.
6 months before crack hit. He admits to moderate lifetime psychedelic use of less than 30 times total for LSD, mushrooms, mescaline, MDMA, and ketamine. His last use of psychedelics was at 1983 at a Grateful Dead show in California.
We got a pretty cool teacher.
Look, I didn't. People ask you, "Are you in recovery?" Right? So, are you experienced? Did you inhale? Yeah, I did. But my politics didn't allow me to do some of the things that y'all were into. So, yeah, I didn't do white dope because